Uh-huh.
I think. Well, I'm like I said. I'm gonna let the other viewer have a go, and then. Okay, what I feel for nutritional autism,
Yes.
I think we personally, generally, I think the schools can upgrade better. When it comes to food choices that are not in gluten, like
Yes.
you said before, because what surprises me generally, we didn't have a clue that was affecting us because
Mm-hmm.
our brains was zero. Because like everything was like, oh, piece of cake, piece of cake, piece of cake,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just it. If you see like maybe jelly pies or the list goes on, you can just pinch it, and they will be like good on you. But we didn't really know the long term effects because as autistics, we just don't have a clue. Even families just had were like, what's the word I'm looking for? To just bear with me.
Yeah.
Families are looking for a way to say, okay, this is not bad. This is not bad for my kid. He likes this, he like that. So they will just feel the food is safe for them to eat.
Yes.
So you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But later, as one gets older, they will now feel the psychological changes.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, okay, when we spoke about bread, I don't want to be too repetitive. I'm going to try
Thank you.
and make it very straightforward. For example, nobody didn't do research on bread because we were thinking bread was harmless.
Yes.
We used to think bread was harmless. We used to think potato was harmless. Actually, funny enough, potatoes are not a problem because they came from a tree. You know,
Yeah.
because it's plant based.
Yes.
So they can't feel any gluten or anything
Yeah.
unless if one adds chemicals or etc.
Yeah.
So ideally, what's affecting autistics here is the foods containing chemicals, preservatives. That's the major problem. Like you said before, is for them to sell. Now, I, as an individual, don't support putting chemical into people's food
Yeah.
because if you put chemicals in people's food, then they will not really enjoy the natural taste.
Yes.
So I feel as an individual, we can make notes to the food
Thank
society.
you, Annie. Yeah, sorry, continue. I'm greeting
I was
someone
just going to
on.
say we can do better by airing our voices to
Yes.
the food council or the food society, whatever they call it, to let them know this is not about you. This is about
Yes.
those.
Nobody is actually fighting you. It's just
No.
people saying something that might be good for one person might not be good for another.
Yes.
So when
Yeah.
we are
That's
talking
it.
about the relationship between food and autism, I try to go as low as possible where I say ultimately we are what we eat.
Yes.
So if you are a building, for instance, let's say the human body is a structure, and
Mm-hmm.
then you bring in um, raw materials that are cheap, that are low quality, that are mixed with things that shouldn't be there, that are, adulterated. What do you think is going to happen? The building, the structure is going to not be perfect because the raw materials are not perfect. Just the same way we know that the food we eat is the raw material that everything that makes us comes from that food. Talk about the nutrients, talk about even liquid, talk about fat that makes up 60% of your brain, talk about the magnesium, sulfur, and everything that make up the bones, talk about the protein materials that make up the flesh, talk about all the organs that are made of protein. Where do you think those things come from? From food. So as you continue to eat the wrong food, you will continue to get the wrong results. But there is something very peculiar about children with autism. The peculiar thing is that They do not process these things like every other person, not because they are not every other person, but because something is already damaged. Something, I don't want to call it damaged, but something is not like
Right.
as it should be. Something is no longer as it should be, and that is why things are not happening as they should happen. I want to give an example of one way that food can actually make a huge difference in the life of a child with autism. Let's take, for instance, I'm talking about experience now. What I am relaying here is an experience I've had with a child or two, knowing like lots of them. I just want to give this example. Let's say, for instance, I have this child that is perpetually lethargic, perpetually sad, perpetually angry, and then everyone is thinking, oh, this child is never happy. Why is it that he's always crying? Why is it that the parents are frustrated, the caregivers are frustrated? Everyone were worried that this child is not just happy, and they don't know why. So imagine we had a test. We realized that number one, he had an inborn error of metabolism when he was not breaking down some, food materials. But the most important thing is that his gut microbiome was practically wiped off. He didn't have a healthy gut microbiota. I think I've said this over and over in about 2 or 4 classes ago, that when we realized that this child's gut microbiome was not in any good state, what it meant was that with that kind of gut microbiome, this child is not getting enough of the B vitamins and other kind of vitamins that are being synthesized by gut microbiome. So, and we also know that it is those B vitamins that are helpful. They are the precursors of the dopamine, serotonin, which are the hormones that make you happy. So it is these hormones that will, when they are abundant in you, you become positive about life, you become motivated, you become happy, you become, you feel like you connect with your environment. So in the case of this child, when we took the history, we realized that he had been on a lot of antibiotic courses where she would take, after the first one, it doesn't get resolved. Of course, it wouldn't get resolved because the antibiotic was probably just wiping off stuff. And being that the parents didn't know better, they were not looking at restoring whatever was being wiped by the antibiotics. So this had happened for a length of time before they started, noticing that this child is not happy. But why is it important to discuss this when it comes to children with autism? It's important because a lot of times parents don't even try to find out what is behind some of their behaviors. Number one, because they can't express themselves. Number two, because with that name autism already, a lot of things that happen to them that is even outside autism, we just assume that, oh, that is how the child is behaving just because they are on the autism spectrum. So what we are saying is that a lot of their problems can actually be physiological. They can be physiological, and anything that is physiological can be modified using nutrition, because nutrition is like the key to your body, because like we said before, you are what you eat. It provides you with the raw material, it provides you with lubricants, it provides you with, processing materials for all the metabolic processes in your body. So no, now our topic is nutrition and autism. What is the connection? Do they even have connection? And yes, Israel is telling us today that he believes that they have connection. So do you think you've had any experience at all to show you like how important nutrition should be for children generally, Israel? Hello, Israel. Temilade. Hello. Okay, I wanted to find out if any of my guests has had an experience that profoundly, you know, profoundly indicates that children with autism actually should, that their nutrition should actually be, close attention should be paid to their nutrition. So as a practitioner, I've had several experiences. Another experience was a child who was having severe constipation. He has had this constipation for over 3-4 years, and then he was losing speech, he was losing the ability to communicate, he was losing connection with the environment, he was losing milestones, everything was just there. But eventually, by the time we started healing his gut, the first thing the mom observed was that he was getting more connected. Normally, this child don't even know what he doesn't have or what he has. But when he started connecting, the mom noticed that he started asking for his own laptop. Apparently, his younger brother has a laptop, but because he had never showed any form of interest, they never bothered to get him one because he was hyperactive, of course. He was hyperactive, destructive, and everything. So by the time he began to heal, by the time we started tackling his gut using nutrition, the parents noticed that he began to observe his environment. He started noticing, look, why is it that my brother has this and I don't have? So when he started asking questions, the parents had no choice than to buy him his own. And that is exactly what we are saying here, that usually a lot of parents tend to feel that immediately you start nutrition, your child will probably just snap out of their condition. No, let me just use this opportunity and say that a lot of times what you are imagining is not exactly how it comes. How it comes is that the child first of all will start having being calm. Then when the child starts getting calmer, they are able to sit in a class or observe the environment and begin to learn. So when the child is beginning to calm and learn, then you begin to see receptive language. Receptive language means that you can give the child two-step instruction, three-step instruction. A child who would barely manage to understand one-step instruction will now take the three-step instruction, carry them out, and come back. So with that receptive language, we begin to, envisage the productive language, because you can't give what you don't have. So on that note, the child will practically just, start getting to know the environment, getting to interact, getting to verbalize. Normally, from what we've observed, the verbalization is usually like later. It's not usually the first. However, we know that these children are diversity themselves. What happens in one child may not be what happened in another child. But the process I just outlined is like, this is the regular thing we usually see. Close the door. So, Temilade, are you there? Hello? Temilade?
I don't know where she is at the moment.
Okay. So I was trying to say, Have you had any experience where a child really had a profound, where you experienced something profound happening to a child just by adjusting their diet?
Right. Not okay. All right. I'll give you the truthful answer if I can. If
Yeah.
you are okay with it, right? Because I've worked with children
Yes.
who are on the spectrum, not in school, but to pick them up from home and take them to school.
Yes.
I don't really. Okay, there was a guy that came on my bus, you know, and he was super hyperactive, yeah.
Yes.
And at some point, he was rocking the chair, making it very hard for the driver to concentrate.
Really?
Yeah, he was rocking the chair. There was a time he broke it because he couldn't sit still. He couldn't stay still, and the chairs were broken. And the problem is, he was making so much noises, and because he was non-verbal, the problem with the school and the family is that the addiction to sugar made him worse.
Yes.
And when he did, the dad failed to stop. Because to me, he should have known better that all of this is making him get agitated. It's making him go more increasingly more hyper.
Yeah.
The school should have not contributed to it.
Does the school give him sugar?
Of course.
Really?
Of course. Well, look, the school gave him sugar because because to me the school was very delusional. It's an autistic school, will you believe?
Yeah. A
And
special school.
a special school in Southeast London where we drop the kids off. The problem that I had personally is that you have to be careful because they will start catching people. What's it called? They will start doing things, and at some point, um, they just feel like, oh, they can let him get away. I think Temilade said she's back.
Yeah, she's back. Yeah.
Yeah, so just have to put her back on if you can, if she sends an invitation.
Yeah.
But I feel for me, the school should have done better. You get it?
Yes.
They should know better. They should know that if the child is too hyperactive, your job is not to give him the sugar intakes. You get it? Because
Yeah.
the more they're giving him sugar intakes, it's going to cause damage
Yes.
on a long run. Now, because they are ignorant, when you have a school that's ignorant, there's problem. Do you get it?
Yeah.
There's trouble down the line. So, I mean, just give me a minute and then somebody else can have their say. You don't mind?
Okay.
So, how do we now send a strong message to schools generally who are looking after children on the autistic spectrum to say
Yes.
why is sugar killing them on the long run? Because people who are severe, they're not supposed to be touching sugar.
Yes.
They're not supposed to be eating sugar. They're not supposed to be. Instead, they should give another alternative options that will keep sugar away. Like I was talking to family, was it 2020? They were asking me, what can they do to calm down the son's hyper? And I said, take away sugar. Take something away from it. As soon as they've done that, there were some changes in the son's life. And today he's doing better.
That's good to hear.
Because they listened to me.
Yeah.
Why it was so important. Because
Yeah.
because I didn't want them to suffer gut leakage, like you mentioned several times.
Yes.
So I think that's just where it all ends up with responsibility and knowing to say yes and no. And know
Yes.
when to draw the line when it comes to feeding people on the spectrum of sugar and give them something different. Yeah, that's it.
That was profound, Israel. Freaky Sales, welcome. Thank you for the likes. Lolly, thank you for dropping by. So, when we talk about autism and food, now from what Israel just narrated, the sugar thing is very popular. People just say, oh, don't give sugar, don't give sugar. But I am going to talk about what exactly is happening. It's not just about sugar. Because, okay, why is it that other children would eat the same amount of sugar but they would not react? Have we asked ourselves? Like I say, I used to tell parents, I'm not advocating that you should give sugar, but there is something that is making sugar a big enemy, which we are not addressing. However, if you remove the sugar, yes, sugar feeds it. But the unfortunate thing is that 80% of the food you eat will still eventually turn to sugar. So for you to really destroy that thing producing the hyperactivity, there is something else you need to do. But before then, freaky sales, we are talking about autism and nutrition. Do you have anything you can contribute on that topic?
Yeah, hello
Hello, good to have you.
again. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I'm just here to learn and to listen.
Okay.
Right.
All
So I
right.
just want to, listen to the conversation a bit before maybe if even if I have anything to say, then I'll make a contribution.
That's beautiful. Thank you. We really
You're
appreciate your
welcome.
presence.
Thank you.
So, Temilade, are you there? Temilade, are you there or you're gone again? All right. What I was going to address is what is that underlying reason that when children on the autism spectrum eat sugar, it becomes a big issue. Meanwhile, when the neurotypical children eat the same kind and the same amount of sugar, it doesn't become an issue. And that is like the bane of our topic today. Why is nutrition so relevant in autism spectrum disorder management? So, there was an example I gave in the beginning where a child microbiome was totally wiped off, and the child was continuously lethargic, continuously unhappy, and that was because without the microbiome there will not be synthesis of B vitamins, and B vitamins are the precursors of the happy hormone. So what happens when you wipe the good microbiome is that you begin to have a build up of the bad microbiome. And this bad microbiome, they're not like bad, like as if they are really bad things, but they are natural things that live in your body. But when there's an imbalance, when the wrong ones are more in number than the good ones, you are practically breeding, you are practically brewing beer in your child's system. How do I mean? As a food scientist, we know that for you to produce beer, all you need to do is to put yeast in a starch, which is usually used they usually use wheat or sorghum to produce, right? So if your child's microbiome is not balanced, each time you are giving that child sugar, you are fermenting that child. You are like providing raw material for that bad microbiome to consume and become active. So in other words, what is going on is that you are practically just feeding the bad microbiome by providing your child with sugar. So I tell you, any child that reacts negatively, extremely to raw sugar is probably having a bad microbiome overload. So if I were parents, what I would begin with is to make sure that I balance my child's microbiome. How do you balance your child's microbiome? You supply the child with lots of probiotics. You cultivate them, you cultivate the good ones. Yes, in this process, there are two ways you can go about it. You can give probiotic or you can give prebiotic. But we always don't encourage prebiotic, especially if the child is already have a large number of the wrong ones, because the more food you supply there, it is still the bad ones that will consume more and still grow more and faster than the good ones. So the best approach, therefore, is that you supply the body with extra probiotics, the life microorganisms. Put them in your child so that your child has a larger number of good microbiome than the bad microbiome. Otherwise, on almost every food, it's not just sugar. In the beginning of my career, I used to go to homes to assess children. I would come to the home in the sense that children are more relaxed in their natural environment. I usually go to people's home to assess the children. There was this particular visit I made that I walked into the house. The child was so calm. She was about to have her lunch and she sat down like, very nice child waiting for her lunch to come. When the lunch came, I realized that the starch was like 5 times the soup. The carbohydrates, they brought fufu for her. I mean, eba gari. So I realized that the gari was like this and the soup was like this, which should be the other way around actually. The soup should be like this and the gari should be like this. I'm just saying right now. So when they brought that food, I was like, because I had already made meal plan for her. It was a follow-up call. And I was asking the young lady, why are you bringing this? This is not what she should be taking, at least by my record. This is not the food she should be taking. And the young lady is like, she doesn't like the one that is in her meal plan. This is the one she likes. My dear, that girl sat down and ate that food in a space of, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes. And because I had to wait for her parents to come back from work, until I left that house from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., she never sat down again on a chair. She was all over the place. She would jump on the table, she would jump on the chair, she would jump, hit her head, like someone has been blindfolded and has become like maniac. And what was the problem? The problem was the food she ate. A lot of parents have refused to see this. And it's because of so many reasons. Because a lot of them believe that the right diet is very difficult to follow. A lot of them believe that it's a fad, that it doesn't work. Why? Because they never stick long enough to derive the benefits. A lot of them arguably believe that it's too expensive. It may not be arguably, but because if you know what to do, you know that the good foods are also affordable. But we are always putting our heads there without looking down there. So with these three reasons, a lot of parents believe that nutrition is not for them. They don't have the time, but believe me, if you do not have the time today, you might end up living with your troubles for the rest of your life. But if you make out time today and tackle your challenges, it might just shorten the length of your struggle. So are we still contemplating whether autism and nutrition has any connection? No. It is not even a matter of contemplation. It's not even a questionable, you don't even question it, because I have seen and I've seen. This is on the negative side. Let's talk about the positive side. I have already talked about a young man who became almost himself after tackling his nutritional needs. There's this other young girl that for 5 years the parents have been, trying to potty train her. And they did this over and over. They do at home, they do in school, they have done all the recommendations by the therapist, put pictures in the toilets where she becomes, follow her with potty. There's nothing they haven't done. But by the time we started working with this child, it became obvious that the mom sent me a message and like, in 5 days, my baby became potty trained. Just because we started tackling the guts. Because usually they start by healing the guts. Thank you so much, Freaky Sales. Normally, they start to heal the gut, restore the microbiome, detoxify the body before they even start putting nutrients inside. That's how we do it in my practice. So immediately you start healing a child's gut. And yes, healing the gut is still with food. It's still with something edible. You heal the gut to make sure that nothing is passing through the gut walls and entering the bloodstream. You restore the microbiome to make sure that the activities there is balanced. That is not just the wrong ones that are taking whatever is going in. Because even those wrong ones, do you know they are also responsible for digging those holes in the stomach wall? So if you come today and you are healing and then you don't take care of them, it means you are practically just rotating it. By the time you finish putting something to heal, they dig the hole again. You rotate again, you come back, and then it continues. So as you are healing, you are also removing whatever that shouldn't be there. Just a minute, I want to share this to a group. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, it's not here. Okay, so as parents or caregivers, these things have to go simultaneously. Just a minute. Uh-oh. Something changed. He has logged me out. Sorry. Sorry, I was logged out because I needed to share the live to somewhere, to a group that I belong. I felt what I was saying was something that they would benefit from. Sorry about that. What's going on? Something changed. Okay, so we were saying healing has to take place, and then you restore the microbiome. And then even the sugars will not have that much effect on the child. Are you there with me? Jay, good evening, welcome. Username, welcome, good to have you. Wilson, Be Inked, good to have you. So those on YouTube, we are continuously talking about autism and nutrition. Is there any connection? Over time, we have given experience, we have given examples of how children have practically turned around just by modifying what they eat. One of the guests was telling us how sugar was, being highlighted, making inferences to sugar. But we are saying that even with sugar, hola, Daryl, even with sugar, there is something happening that is making sugar so relevant in children with autism. If it wasn't so, why is it that two children, one with autism and one without autism, will eat the same sugar, and the one without autism is having challenges processing and stimulating it, meanwhile the one without autism is fine going about his or her business without any challenges? So it is definitely something else that is causing the active, like is causing the reaction of a child to sugar overload. Temilade, hello.
So sorry for the on and off. I'm here now.
Yeah, we have called you 2 times to lend your voice, but you were not there.
I'm here now.
So we are
I guess
asking,
I've gone.
we were asking, has there been any experience that you could generally relate how nutrition has a profound impact of nutrition on a child with autism, either positively or negatively? Have you had such experience?
Well, personally, I don't have an experience with a child with autism,
Yeah.
personally. But from conversations like this and from, should I say, looking online and getting to learn about things about them,
Yes.
I've come to understand that even not with it, even if the child doesn't have autism,
Yeah.
with every child, nutrition plays a key role in their entire well-being,
Yes.
be it their digestive health, their growth, nutritional well-being, and how they develop academically. Nutrition
Yeah.
has a great role to play. And I would say with a child with autism, definitely nutrition
Yeah.
could either improve their health or make their health worse. So children with autism should be well catered for in terms of their nutrition. That is, more attention should be paid, should be focused on them in ensuring that they take adequate diets rich in fruits and vegetables, ensuring that they take more of whole foods rather than junks
Yeah.
or overly processed foods, and also ensuring that their meals are also timely as well,
Yes.
so they won't be at the verge of malnutrition, because at times when they are non-verbal, their caregivers might not really know what is going on with them. So a
Yes.
lot of attention needs to be paid as to what goes on with them. So they should be well monitored, adequately monitored, in order to ensure that they get the best from their diets.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
So, Israel, sorry about this breaking transmission. I had this group that someone added me like 4 days ago. So I felt that the kind of discussion I see on that group, I felt that they will benefit from this discussion. But unfortunately, when I went to share it, The light just went off. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Okay,
Welcome back, Israel.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now.
But to a large extent,
Yeah,
before the break in transmission, I hope we were able to capture what I said about
I
sugar.
had to reset it.
Yes, it has to be there is something else that is going on the inside that is causing that level of reaction. So it's not just acceptable that yes, even though it is not good, like sugar is not good, but it's not just acceptable that two children, one with autism and one without autism, are having two different types of reaction to the same food. There must be something different in the one with autism that is making him or her react that adversely to something that should be, you know, I don't say it should be natural, but like it's almost present in everything that we eat. So, and that is where we talked about how the microbiome is like in the picture. How, if the microbiome is not balanced, when you have the wrong ones occupying most of the space, that is when that reaction becomes very, very apparent, because it's like you have 10 tigers and 2 cats in a dungeon, which is your stomach this time, and you throw in meat. Who do you think would get more of the meat? The tigers. And over time, you realize the tigers are healthier and thriving better than the cats. So that is what happens. Pardon?
I said the cats will be getting leaner.
That is what happens when you keep giving a child with autism whose microbiome is in bad condition. You keep giving him sugar, sugar, sugar. So the bad ones are, joyfully feeding on the sugar, and the good ones are just there looking at them and crying and getting malnourished. So the truth is, yes, it happens. It has this negative impact on neurodivergent children or children with autism. Let's just stick to that. On children with autism, sugar can have an impact, but here we are urging parents to look beyond just sugar. Ask yourself, why is it that this child with autism reacts this badly to sugar? And why is it that this other child without autism does not react this badly to the same sugar? So you should ask yourself, what is the difference? It's not just about depriving them of everything, because I have spoken to parents. Yes, I've spoken to parents that some of them will be like, I have stopped giving him anything like sugar. There's no way you can stop giving a child anything like sugar, because sugar is in almost everything we eat.
Some also need for their brain function.
Pardon?
I said they also need glucose for their brain function.
Of course. It is glucose that the brain uses to function. Excuse me. I needed to lock the door because my invaders were beginning to invade me. So at the end of the day, the brain still needs that glucose to work. Pardon?
Yeah. I said everyone needs glucose.
Yes. Everyone needs glucose. And then you might be driving that child into hypoglycemia. You might be just depriving that child of a lot of things. Okay, we have seen situations where children may have mitochondrial dysfunction. If a child has mitochondrial dysfunction, it means the body, the cells are not converting the food to energy efficiently. So for such a child, you need constant supply of carbohydrate. So, and if that child is becoming weak and weaker, even if it's Coke that's available, you have to give so that that energy will be supplied. So in that case, you will now be left with the dilemma. Is he going to be hyperactive or is he going to be alive? I don't want this thing to be twisted. I am not saying go and give your child sugar because I know how things can be twisted. I am not saying give your child sugar. What I am saying is that beyond the sugar, you should address the thing that is causing your child to react negatively to sugar. So, as you are happily removing sugar, also try and remove that factor that is making sugar a problem in your child. Because it is actually because something is not in the right state that the sugar is being a challenge. And I'm very sure no parent just wakes up every morning and just pack a bowl of sugar and give their children. No, it doesn't happen. So the little ones they're going to get as children, you start having issues. Even normal food, like I already explained about a child I went to see, and her normal lunch was causing her to be excessively hyperactive. Yes. Okay. So her normal lunch was causing her to be excessively hyperactive. So when you look at things like this, you ask yourself, okay, does it mean that child shouldn't be eating food? No, they have to eat food. But the truth is that there is something going on the inside that is making that food, not so wonderful for the body. So parents, what we are saying is, please look beyond just removing sugar. You can't even remove sugar. You can't remove sugar from a child's food because even the fruits and veggies still contain sugar. If you give your child any fruit or vegetable, it's still sugar. If you give your child beans, still sugar. If you give your child rice, that is even worse. If you tell me you are removing every sugar in your child's food, and then I ask you, what are the food the child eats on daily basis, and you tell me he eats rice Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you have removed sugar, that's a lie. Because 1 cup of rice is almost 12 cubes of sugar, if you don't know. So if you think you are removing sugar from your child's food, you are deceiving yourself. You can't even remove sugar from anybody's food. The only thing you can say is that you are removing raw refined sugar or raw sugar, whether refined or unrefined. You can remove it, sugar as a sweetener, but you cannot remove sugar as a component of food. Because this guy is everywhere. It's in all our foods, as it were. Temilade, do you have anyone has anything to add to this? Israel, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just listening. I'm just, I'm hearing what's being said.
Yes.
Yes, again, I mean, because of time, I'm not really going to overstep it because I know we can go more next Tuesday. But I would say glucose is also parts of it as well.
Yes.
But it's just how we handle it as well. We have to make sure there is like a limit.
Exactly.
Because if there's no limits, it can be addiction. Because
Moderation.
Addiction to sweets and chemicals.
It's
because
true.
when one develops the addiction, it'll be hard for him to get off.
Definitely.
Because it will be it's like, okay, when someone is addicted to cheese, and it's ongoing, it's going to be hard to get off of cheese. It'll be hard to get off of crackers, or it'll be hard to get off things. Because majority, like I said, some people, may not be into egg eating, but their health, but like you said a few weeks ago, egg has more benefits.
Yes.
Because it has, and besides that, it's not chemicalized.
Yes.
It's never chemicalized. It is only if, for example, one is making a sandwich, and they start mixing it with maybe preservatives.
Yes.
Then that can be a big problem on its own entirely. But having said that, we have to now encourage individuals to draw a line in
Yeah.
saying no.
Moderation.
Moderation is required,
Yes.
because there and also discipline
Mm-hmm.
is the key.
That's a point.
Because, like I said, if parents can start putting them into action, the benefits for the child as he grows up or she grows up.
Yes.
Because if they don't do it now, it will be hard for them to remain in control.
Exactly.
Because when the guy that I worked with, he was having troubles in staying in control. And it
Yes.
was because the family did not draw the line. They didn't put some boundaries into place.
Yes.
Because they thought, okay, so they can just, because when it comes to all those stuff, even when you're drinking stuff like oranges that like concentrates, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
When you drink oranges that concentrate, it's even worse. So I wouldn't advise any family to be doing all those concentrate drinks, you know?
Yes, it's true.
Because you have to really read. Another thing what parents need to do is
Reading the
do
label.
research. It doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if one can start going deeper, why is it important to have a discipline and boundaries in intakes of sugar? This is not to punish the autistic individual. It's for their own health's sake.
It's for their own good, yes.
And it's for their own good. So I think that's where I will end it here.
Yeah. Temilade, you have something to say?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear
You
you.
actually said a lot tonight concerning this sugar of a thing. And I liked the emphasis you laid that we shouldn't necessarily see sugar as a culprit,
Yeah.
but even if these children have some allergies or some reactions to taking sugar, those the underlying cause should be addressed
Exactly.
rather than seeing sugar as the enemy.
Yes.
Because even if you remove the visible sugars from their food, table sugars from their food, what about other food sources containing
Yes.
sugar? Even other carbohydrates containing foods, they are also sugars, because by the
Yes.
time the body breaks them down, it also
It
breaks
becomes sugar.
them down into glucose.
Yes.
So the underlying factors should actually be addressed rather than seeing sugar as an enemy. And
Exactly.
sugars should also be taken in moderation.
Yeah. That moderation is really key, because what happens here is that a lot of families will know what to do, but their own discipline wouldn't allow it. I am not gaslighting anybody. It happened to me at the beginning of our own journey. That time when we wanted to start putting our child off gluten, we would actually sneak bread. We will buy the bread and say it's just me, myself, and my husband that will eat the bread. And we will put the bread on top of the wardrobe. You won't believe it. By the time we go out and come in, we will only see the wrap of the bread on the floor.
Wow.
I don't know how she finds out where the bread is, or how she gets to the bread. Like, seriously, it was a mystery. Maybe somebody in the house was doing it and tying it to her. I don't know how that was happening, but it wasn't just the
I
bread.
guess she loved bread.
Yes, and there's no way you hide it, she wouldn't get it. Even if she doesn't get it that day, it's just a matter of time. You know she'll get it someday.
Wow.
It won't be long until she gets it. So what we did, and what I advised Faith, yes, so and what I advise any parent is that immediately you realize that your child should not have a certain thing, don't even bother bringing it to your house. I spoke with a parent the other day, and she's like, the child will go to school and come home hungry just because he wants to eat Cerelac. That Cerelac is the only thing he eats. I say yes because he knows that when he gets home, you will give him Cerelac. Don't say the child is stubborn. Yes, some children are obstinate. That is taken. But believe me, if that child knows that there's no Cerelac when they get home, they will eat what you give them. I'm not advocating to starve the child. What I'm saying is that if you know that this is not right for your children, start by not even buying it. Don't buy it and hide somewhere in case he refuses to eat the one you offer. That was the difference between us parents now raising our children and when we grew up. Our parents don't take nonsense from anybody. In fact, that time if you don't eat food, my mother will share it in front of you like this and share it to other people, and you'll be hungry until the next meal. Seriously. And tomorrow, who born you? In fact, you'll be the first person to come and carry your plate when they finish sharing food. So, but we now,
African mothers,
those were the real. Us now, we will be like, oh, let's keep the food in case he gets hungry. Before you know it, we'll go start organizing something else so that they will eat. If you do it today and do it tomorrow, your child will know that there's no way my mother is going to allow me to go hungry. And they will insist on not eating what they don't want to eat because they know you will eventually give in. Maybe this is not a popular opinion, but you see me, the way my mother raised me, I dare not I dare not, reject what I need just because you think she will oblige you. But my generation, we are raising our children in different ways. So what we are saying here is, if you know that sugar or sweetened drinks and foods are making your child react in negative way, start by not even bringing them to the house. Start by not buying them, and then go ahead to address that underlying problem that makes it so. We said here that if your child is reacting badly to a food, it means there is something inside that is causing it. It doesn't just stop at removing that food, because if as a nutritionist today, I just engage in removing food that is not good for child, there are children that by the time you look at their allergy tests, they will never eat food again for the rest of their lives. But how do we cope with this? We cope by healing the gut. By the time you heal the gut, you realize that the child that was allergic to 1, 2, 3 type of food is already eating 4, 5, 6, 7 types of food. Just by healing the gut, the child you are calling a picky eater becomes a voracious eater. So when children are reacting to something negatively, let us not just focus on pulling off the food. Some parents will pull off everything, and then you'll be asking, what exactly is this child eating at the end of the day? Because you have removed everything they need, and you want the brain to heal. So where is the nutrient that the brain is going to heal with? So what we are saying, parents, please, if your child is reacting in a way that is not pleasant to a food, the biggest solution is not usually to just yank the food off their diet. The biggest solution is find out what is going on in the gut. And then if truly that food is not the right food, when we come to certain foods like allergenic foods, if truly that food is not right, that is when you have to pull it. But even some allergenic food, as time goes on, as the gut heals, you find out that the child now receives it. I remember when my child was younger, she was so allergic to nuts that immediately she eats nuts, you see the bumps coming out on her skin, like immediately. And as the bumps are coming out, she's crying, and as she's crying, she's scratching it, and they are spreading and it's increasing. But with the healing of the gut, I tell you, today, nuts are her best snacks. She can eat all kinds of nuts, whatever it is, she will eat it and ask for more. And it has no impact anymore. So what we are saying is, please heal the gut. And as a final note, please note, parents, nutrition has everything to do with autism. A lot of their conditions can actually be addressed through proper nutrition. When you test your child and know what exactly is ailing your child and attack it, modify them using nutrition, you are definitely bound to see positive results. And please don't give up, don't relent. I tell parents what has come to us is extraordinary, so we have to put extraordinary means to carry on and support them. Yes, Sugar Nurse T, you have been here. Thank you so much. We appreciate your presence. We've been around since 10 o'clock. This is 11. I've got to go. Tomorrow is school. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Israel. It's always wonderful having you around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Temilade. You are my anchor. But I'm going to flog you behind the
God is
screen.
our
I'm going to flog you behind this.
sorry about that.
I'm going to flog you.
Alright,
Don't worry.
good
Okay,
night,
after
ma.
this, just call me. I have just an instruction to give you.
Alright.
All right.
Bye, Mr. Israel.
Take care.
Thanks, Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Yeah, you take care too. Bye.